Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4. We are live at the Dakota Bowl, O'Gorman High School in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Hello, Mr. Struck.
Hey, how are you guys? Mic check, 1, 2. Mic check.
We are good. I'm better than we were about an hour 15 when you were
man.
texting me about the tornado in Harrisburg.
Yeah, that thing touched down, and then all of a sudden I heard the siren, and then I got it wouldn't be Dakota Bowl Saturday without a Nebraska loss in that noon window.
All right, I'm just going to play a little thing off the tablet for you folks.
Need repairs on gas pumps, tanks, and air compressors? Sioux Equipment Company can help. They serve Sioux Falls and the surrounding areas. Sioux Equipment Company also offers services for lifts, signs, decals, and tank truck equipment. Sioux Equipment Company at 605-334
I got all kinds of water in this cooler back there that's cold. Do you need a water or a Powerade or anything?
Not right now.
My guys, bring you guys presents.
Don't think about it, just move your body. Listen to the music, sing oh, oh. Just move those left feet, go ahead, get crazy. Anyone can do it.
Oh, okay. Do you want to write the time shoes? I put some. Did you have a copy of Bob or the Gorman script as well? Lincoln 46 over Rapid City Central. Well, that's not surprising.
The only reason here scored 2 points last night.
About 6 minutes. We're going on right at 6:15.
cheerleaders to come right by the front gate. The mini cheerleaders, please come and gather by the main gate. Right.
You're listening to a special presentation from the Real Presence Radio Network. On Real Presence Radio, welcome to the Knights Game Day Show.
Good evening, everybody. O'Gorman football is back, and welcome to McNaney Field at O'Gorman High School in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I am Isaac Struck with Real Presence Radio, and tonight we are starting off the season with a matchup of city rivals. Number 3, Sioux Falls Roosevelt, will be taking on number 4, Sioux Falls O'Gorman, in the season opener, which also happens to be the 43rd annual Bob Burns Dakota Bowl. Tonight's game will be the 10th meeting in the Dakota Bowl between these two teams of Sioux Falls Roosevelt and Sioux Falls O'Gorman, which started back in 1999, and the second straight season now that these two teams have kicked off the Dakota Bowl. This marks the first time in Dakota Bowl history where O'Gorman has faced the same opponent on back-to-back seasons. Roosevelt holds a 5-4 record in the Dakota Bowl series, with that win last year when they were knotted up at 4 until last year's victory for Roosevelt in the Dakota Bowl. O'Gorman's last win versus Roosevelt in the Dakota Bowl came back in the 2007 season. The Knights have a 29-13 record in the Dakota Bowl games, dating back to the first one back in 1978. If you want to listen tonight, you can tune in by listening to 94.5 FM Sioux Falls or 91.3 FM Hartford, or online at realpresenceradio.com by listening. Click the Listen Now button, and then on 94.5 FM Sioux Falls and 91.3 FM Hartford again, or on our free mobile app by clicking stations and then selecting FM 94.5 or FM 91.3. And finally, the best way of watching it on YouTube, Real Presence Radio Sioux Falls, where you can listen and watch the live stream provided tonight for tonight's ball game. So I'd like to bring in one of my best buddies up here in the booth and broadcast partner for another O'Gorman sports season, the one and only Dan Scoop Johnson.
Hey, wow. Dakota Bowl 43, Isaac. You believe that?
I cannot believe it.
Brett wasn't even born yet.
I wasn't even born for the first however many.
But this is great. Dakota Bowl 43 here at the MAC. It doesn't get any better than this. This is the granddaddy of bowl games in South Dakota. We were the first one. Everybody has piggybacked off that. Other teams have their bowl games, but Dakota Bowl was the first and by far the best Dakota Bowl series in South Dakota. So
yeah, the tailgating, the usual skydivers, the fireworks at halftime. I don't know if the skydivers are a thing this year now that we've had some weather issues the past however many hours, but it looks clear skies around here now, and hopefully we don't run into more weather, knocking on wood, for the rest of the day. But all that money that we raised today goes to all the 8 Catholic schools in the school system, and just what a great day to be a Knight.
Oh, I tell you what. So let's talk about Dakota Bowl. What's in your memories that go back to? Okay, let's go back to let's say 2017. Dakota Bowl. Isaac was a senior. He led O'Gorman to 35-16 win versus the Tigers. He was 16 for 25, 366 yards and 3 TDs. What do you think of that? You remember that?
I do remember that. What I remember more is starting off incredibly slow, and we were down 14-7 at one point of that ball game.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
We started to turn things around in the second half, and that was when that was still at Howard Wood. Not saying it's better at Howard Wood or it's better at the MAC, but just the environment at Howard Wood that night was awesome, phenomenal. We got to debut the brand new jerseys for the first time ever. Wore our gray jerseys, those alternate jerseys. Just a lot of life in the stands. And a good second half comeback, which makes it all the worth it.
What was it like growing up, coming to Dakota Bowl as a kid, as a 5th, 6th grader, going, geez, I'm going to play out here for the Knights someday?
Oh, it was awesome. You always spray painted your hair. You put eye black on. You did all sorts of weird things. You ran around the parking lot seamlessly forever. I mean, you'd be out here for 7-8 hours of the day and not even blink an eye, and then before you knew it, you were lining up to form a tunnel for the Knights to come out of the locker room with, and it was just such a cool day, a cool atmosphere. You prepared for it all week. You'd have some pep rally at the end of the day in your elementary or your junior high for the Dakota Bowl on that Friday, and then Saturday with the kids camp and everything. It was just such a cool environment.
But look at little cheerleaders out there now and stuff. Whether they're kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade,
yep.
They're going to remember this for the rest of their life that they got to do this Dakota Bowl. So let's talk about last season here with the Knights. They finished last season 6-4 with losing to Harrisburg 35-14 at home here in the first round. O'Gorman returns 3 starters Offensive right tackle Chase Harris, wide receivers Manny Struck and David Elpers. 5 starters on defense, David Elpers, linebackers Nate Ratzlaff, Andrews Matichek, Carter Peterson, defensive back, Manny Struck, and Andrew Nelson. Now some key losses to graduation. Who'd we lose from last year?
Well, offensively, we lost our quarterback, Tegan Schlimgin, and then we lost a couple of very good perimeter players in Zach Riedel and Sam Stukel. Can't forget about big old Eddie Myler on the tackle position. And then we also lost Matt Peters, Jacob Schwab, and Tanner Payton. And not to mention guys like Michael Shea and some of those other guys out on that linebacker core. Those are going to be some key losses and some big holes that we got to fill.
So, Isaac, what's your thoughts on this year's team? Because you've been around, kind of the freshman coach. I have yet to see a practice, so I'm gonna keep to myself what I've heard from my sources. But you tell me what you think.
I think that it's going to be an exciting team this year. It's a lot of question marks around the board. A lot of guys that you haven't seen, not very household names for this year's team. But there's also going to be some guys that impress some of the fans tonight, and they're going to make a name for themselves here at the Dakota Bowl. What a better time for that. It's just going to be an exciting game. I think you're going to have a lot of speed, a lot of athleticism on the team this year.
Okay, going into the season, we got a new face of Gorman. Now, that's going to be a quarterback, Dannenbrink. What similarities do you have, Struck versus Dannenbrink, similarities? What do you like about him?
Well, here's what I will say. Dannenbrink's one of the faster players on the team. He has a bigger frame. He's about 6'3", and he's really quick, but he's a pretty strong kid with a good arm. Sometimes he can get a little wild at times in practice, trying to always make that big play. So you'll see Poppinga probably throughout the year trying to kind of slow him into and ease him into the offense. But what you're getting is an incredibly gifted athlete, and he's going to make a lot of big plays for O'Gorman this season.
Okay, the Knights' opponent tonight is the Sioux Falls Roosevelt Rough Riders, which we played them here last year. They were 8-1 last season. The only game they lost in the semifinals at Harrisburg, 21-19 at Howard Wood. Roosevelt's 2-star receivers from last year, Tyler Feldkamp and Michael Paulson, both graduated. Their quarterback, Tyler Ashley, he scooted on over to Jefferson along with wide receiver Griffin Wilde. So the Riders returned 3 of their starting 5 offensive linemen from last year's squad. So what do you see as the biggest challenge tonight with Roosevelt? What do they face this season?
Well, I think that Roosevelt, they're going to be led by their line, obviously. When you return all 5 or 3 of your 5 starters and 5 of your starting linemen are seniors, you're going to be senior-led at the offensive line position, which is where everything gets started. You're going to see a lot of young guys in this Roosevelt team trying to make some big plays. They got a sophomore quarterback. They've got a lot of junior receivers out there. So this is a really big game for them, trying to figure out who they are before the season. And usually Roosevelt's not having to figure out who they are at this point in the season. Usually they've got those guys playing for a couple of years. But it is a brand new system over here. They got a new defensive coordinator and a lot of different moving parts going around this year. So the 43rd annual Bob Burns Dakota Bowl game is broadcast on Real Presence Radio, brought to you by our partners in premier sponsorship, Barnett Lewis Funeral Home. Barnett Lewis Funeral Home's goal is to make arrangements with families comfortable when they decide what their wishes are for funeral arrangements. They contacted by calling 605-33, and then one of them that got completed this afternoon around the state.
Central won 49-0. Matchup of number 1's a good game. Down in Yankton took on Huron. 41 took on the Bobcats up at Brookings, 21. On top of Rhapsody Central, out we have tonight the Dakota Bowl, and that's what's going on across the football here.
To prepare for the O'Gorman Knights this evening, that interview is coming up next after the break here on Real Presence Radio.
Please email the details. We can help spread the word about what's happening at your parent.
You are navigating a life transition, such as going to college or changing, like more information or to set up an
Welcome to Dakota Bowl ball game. What have been some of the main focuses for you at the beginning couple weeks of practice for your team?
Well, I think we have some good lost players in the secondary and receiver, quarterback on offense. Our varsity is another level of commitment and time and learning. It's much more complex and there's many more decisions to make, and you don't just line up and give it to your best guy 50 times a game unless he's unreal. You got to be able to run the ball when you have to and throw the ball when you have to. And I would love to run the ball every play and win every game that way without ever having to worry about a turnover or interceptions or anything like that. But it's not realistic. And with the teams we play, you have to be able to do a little bit of both.
What excites you, Coach, most about the potential of this year's squad you have?
We have really good speed overall. I really think that we have some guys that will surprise people at receiver and running back and in the secondary. We're not going to forget about our seniors from last year because they were really talented guys, but it makes it easier to look forward and feel optimistic when I see the guys that we've got playing are very talented guys. I think if we can take care of the football, not hurt ourselves with penalties and those kind of things, and I think we can hang with anybody. I feel good about our chances is if we can stay healthy and win some close ball games early. Maybe by the end of the season we'll be ready to roll by playoff time.
And Coach, you had some excellent receivers last year that graduated, and Paulson and Feldkamp and the Ashleys at Jefferson as well as Wilde. Who are some of those skilled players on this year's team you're going to kind of be looking at to fill the voids left by those 4 outstanding players?
Our running backs are one of our strengths. We've got 2 or 3 guys that can really are really good running backs, and Tyree Nave is back for his 3rd year, also plays linebacker. Nelson Wright is also going to play some running back for us. He's one of our fastest players. And Jackson Grevengood is going to be a slot and be in the backfield a little bit, and he's been a running back his whole life. There's 3 guys there. We got another guy, Moshe Muhammad, that had a really good game yesterday in the JV game running the ball. So we've got some depth there. At receiver, Matt Gehring is moving. He's playing linebacker, but he's also going to play receiver. DeAndre Joseph is also a linebacker who's going to play some receiver. John Parker is going to play wide out for us. He's a younger guy, but just really a talented kid.
And how about your quarterback position,
Coach? Yeah, quarterback we've made a decision that Jackson Brower is going to be our starter. Elijah Else will be our backup quarterback, and those 2 guys, I love both of them. They're both really good kids and good athletes, and they just haven't played a lot of quarterback in the last year or so, and we've had to be a little more basic with them and not ask them to read a lot of things. And so we'll be a very different team on offense, but I think it's something that we can be good at.
What do you foresee as some of the biggest challenges game 1 against O'Gorman, what they'll present to your team?
Well, I think their passing game is going to be a big challenge with some big targets, like Struck and Alpers, both taller than everybody we have on defense. And I know Bennett Dannebrink can really throw the ball well, and he's a smart guy. He'll figure it out. They've got good targets. They've got good athletes. They've got a good-sized running back, I think, if it's who I think it is. On defense, I think I'm concerned about how many guys they're bringing back and experienced players they're bringing back from last year's team. And there were times last year they played some really good defense against some really good teams. It's certainly going to be a different game than it was last year, and we're looking forward to finding out where we are.
And finally, Coach, for your team to have success against O'Gorman tonight, what do you think they must do?
Keep the ball away. I think we need to be able to get first downs and move the chains and keep the ball. If we can do that and limit their possessions, I think we have a chance. If we turn it over or go 3 and out, several times, it's going to be a rough night. They just have too many athletes over there to keep giving them the ball. So we hopefully can run the ball well and convert on 3rd down a few times, and then our quarterbacks can make some plays.
Thank you so much, Coach. Good luck tonight.
You bet. Thanks a lot.
We'd like to thank Coach Nelson for his time, as always. Tonight will be Coach Nelson's 5th Dakota Bowl game, where he comes in with an outstanding record of 4-0 in the Dakota Bowl. So don't go away, because Brett Byler sat down and interviewed head O'Gorman coach Jason Poppinga, and that interview is next on tonight's Game Day Show here on Real Presence Radio Network.
Hello, this is Mark Konzemius, president of the Catholic Community Foundation for Eastern South Dakota. Preparing for the end of life can be overwhelming, even scary. Yet as disciples of Christ, we live in great hope and the reality of God's promise that death is not the end, but a new beginning. The End-of-Life Planning Workbook for Catholics is now available. I encourage you to reach out to one of our Catholic Community Foundation offices or ccfesd.org. May God bless each of us on our journey to heaven.
Early in his time as the new bishop of the Diocese of Sioux Falls, Bishop Donald DeGrood sensed in prayer the vision that the Lord has for the diocese in our time. Lifelong Catholic missionary discipleship through God's love. That is, for each and every Catholic in Eastern South Dakota to receive God's love, to be in personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and to share that love with others. Find out more at sfcatholic.org/vision and discover the exciting and beautiful part you have to play in God's plan.
Welcome back to tonight's Game Day Show. I'm now joined by Sioux Falls O'Gorman football coach Jason Poppinga. Coach, another season is upon us. Let's talk about the squad you have this season. You've been practicing for a couple weeks so far. What have been your biggest takeaways from those practices, and any surprises to you at all out there?
The biggest I wouldn't say surprised, but our seniors have just done a great job as far as their approach, their attitude. I mean, they're very happy to be out there. They're excited about football, and and I think they're really expecting to have a great season. And we've added Bennett Dannenbrink, who's going to be our starting quarterback, and which has allowed some other players to go play other positions. Rush Landry, we expect to have a huge impact on the defensive line, and also playing wide receiver for us. In camp, he's really come on, and we really feel like he's going to make a big impact on especially short yardage type situations as a receiver. And David Alpers was a great defensive end, all-state defensive end, and we're excited about him coming over on offense, and playing a lot of tight end for us. So we're excited about how physical some of our players are, but we still have a lot of question marks. Our offensive line being the biggest question mark, and then in our secondary too, Andrew Nelson coming back, but the corner outside of him, how well are we going to be able to cover guys? And last year in the Dakota Bowl, we saw we couldn't cover. We let Tyler Feldkamp run wild on the field and score 3 or 4 touchdowns early in that game and let it get out of hand. So we're going to have to play good defense.
And Coach, how do you feel so far? And maybe it's a hard question to answer at this point in the season, but the depth of your team this year, how do you feel going into the season?
Yeah, that's always a tough one to answer because we're still trying to feel out our starters. We're trying to find out how well they're going to perform, as far as, number of reps, how hot it's going to be. But we think, that out of our sophomore class, the one thing I think we've learned is that we think that there's 5 or 6 of our sophomores this year that are going to play big roles for us, on the field, in special teams, and also, some defense and offense. We've seen Henry Theobald has really come on, hopefully going to be playing some defensive corner, defensive back for us, and Maverick Jones, and then Rylan Satter. Those guys have all stood out, and also Sam Sorrell, hoping that those guys will be big impact players. And, having 4 or 5 sophomores that can play is going to make a huge difference for us down the road.
And Coach, you mentioned him early in the interview. You do have a new quarterback this year in Bennett Dannenbrink, replacing Tegan Schlimgen, who was your quarterback the past 2.5 years. What does Bennett bring to the table for your offense? And just talk about some of the expectations you have for that offensive unit this season.
Yeah, first, obviously, losing Tegan, he's kind of been our, leader on the team for the last few years. Obviously, winning the state championship his junior year, and he holds almost all of the records now as a quarterback, total yards, touchdowns, etc. They're all held by Tegan, which is, an impressive feat, seeing that he, beat out like Isaac Struck and Dusty Coleman and some of those, great names that we've had come through the program. Bennett's a very different type of quarterback than what we've had. He's tall, he's 6'2", 6'3", he runs really well. He's one of the fastest guys on our team and throws a really good ball. And, he's a kid that's came up through, the Sioux Falls leagues playing quarterback. A lot of times we've had guys that, necessarily might have been receivers that we had playing quarterback, but, Bennett's a true quarterback, and really excited about what he's going to bring to the table this year.
And Coach, you mentioned at luncheon today, a concern maybe about your offensive line. I believe you do return Chase Harris, but you lose the other 4 starters. Is that going to be maybe your biggest concern right now going to that game 1 against Roosevelt?
Yeah, it's a real big concern for us. Chase is a great player, but he's undersized. He's a kid that's, 230 pounds instead of 260 that you're going to see, across the ball from us in all of the metro schools. And Aiden Scott also played a lot last year. He was kind of hit with COVID and had to sit out a few games, but Aiden Scott is a junior this year, big, large, kid. He's 265, playing at our center spot, and we have really high hopes for what he's going to do this year. And outside of that, it's going to be a little bit of open competition. We feel like we got 5 or 6 different guys that are going to kind of rotate through there. Zach Carlson, starting on the defensive line, is going to have to come over. He's going to give us, some strength, I think, on our offensive line when he comes over and plays. But, guys like Peter Benson, Alex Farkey, Niedering House, Will Peterson, a senior who played a little bit last year. Those guys are all going to have to come out and perform really well, and they're going to do a little bit by committee to find out who's going to win those spots on the offensive line.
Now tonight's game, Coach, you play Sioux Falls Roosevelt for the 2nd straight year in the Dakota Bowl game. What do you foresee as some of the biggest challenges that Coach Nelson's squad will present to your team tonight?
A lot of unknowns. Obviously, this is the first time that we don't really know much about their quarterback. They don't have a Tyler Feldkamp that we know of, that, just outstanding speed that you saw in the perimeter in the past. But up front, they return almost all of their offensive linemen, and they're big and they're physical. And we know their tailback, and Tyree, he's a talented kid. So, we really kind of expect to see a little more smash mouth football out of Roosevelt. They're still going to throw it. We expect them to have receivers that are going to be able to do great things down the field, and we're going to have to play, great football across the board on defense.
And finally, Coach, a couple of keys to victory for your team, and obviously I think one would be not allowing the big play, which last year's game, obviously different players, but they had 4 touchdowns of over 35 yards in in that game last year.
Yeah, big plays was huge, and it was pass, and we didn't cover, we didn't defend, we couldn't tackle. I mean, there was a lot of things that went wrong in that, and it wasn't that Roosevelt just went out and out schemed us. It's just our kids didn't play well, and offensively, every chance we had, we had a touchdown throw, and another receiver didn't run a route, and as a result, it's deflected instead of a touchdown. We had 5 offside penalties in the first 2 drives that just kept putting us back. We had 2 snaps that went over our head. There were so many things that went bad, in that game, and like we tell our kids, it's like, we don't have to do outstanding things. We just got to do our job, and if we do that, we hopefully are in a 4-quarter game with a really good team.
Thank you so much, Coach. Good luck tonight.
Hey, thanks, Brett. Appreciate it.
We would like to thank Coach Poppinga for his time as always, as Coach Poppinga is 3-2 in Dakota Bowl games, looking to get that 4th victory tonight over the Roosevelt Rough Riders. Coming up after the break, we'll find out what the Knights need to do in order to defeat the Sioux Falls Roosevelt Rough Riders in our Keys to Victory segment. Stay tuned for that here on Real Presence Radio Network.
Need repairs on gas pumps, tanks, and air compressors? Sioux Equipment Company can help. They serve Sioux Falls and the surrounding areas. Sioux Equipment Company also offers services for lifts, signs, decals, and tank truck equipment. Sioux Equipment Company at 605-334-1653 is a supporter of O'Gorman Knights athletics and activities.
Upon graduation from O'Gorman High School, you will receive far more than a diploma. You get the values of a Catholic education, the support and reach of thousands of alum from across the country, the knowledge that you can become who you were meant to be, and our community will be right there by your side. You belong in blue. O'Gorman High School.
Welcome back to McEnany Field, home of the 43rd annual Dakota Bowl. Now we will take it to our Keys to Victory segment to talk about what the Knights need to do tonight to defeat the Rough Riders and pick up a victory here at the Dakota Bowl game. So we'll start it off here. Knights got to win the turnover battle early in a season. In a ball game like this, the turnover battle is going to be huge. There's going to be a lot of rookie mistakes out of new guys trying to make plays at new positions and whatnot. Making sure that we limit our turnovers to their turnovers is going to be huge. Last year in the Dakota Bowl, our 4 turnovers kind of sent us into the grave early on in that game, while Roosevelt didn't commit a single turnover the entire game. So that's going to be a big one. Number 2, can't give up any big plays. Roosevelt held 4 touchdowns last year of 35 yards or more. So in order to stop the Rough Riders this year, we got to limit those big plays and make this offense drive down the field instead of allowing them an explosive one play on a certain drive. Also, we got to stop the run. Roosevelt's going to try to run the ball a lot tonight. They got a whole new they got a new quarterback and a brand new staff of receivers. But the one thing that hasn't changed is their running back and offensive line. They've got 5 offensive linemen who are seniors, and they've got a running back who played a lot last year, the second leading rusher on the team. They're going to try to pound that ball tonight. Got to make sure that we stop that run. Stay on course offensively. Can't have any dumb penalties, no false starts, no unnecessary roughness, any of those sorts of penalties. We gave up 93 yards in penalty yardage last year in the Dakota Bowl. Just can't have that. Finally, we need a playmaker or two to step up offensively and make some plays. You're going to see some new guys out there this year to replace the likes of Zach Riedel and Sam Stukel and Harry Huners and guys like that. You're going to have some guys stepping up into the position tonight. You're going to see Rush Landry play a lot more receiver. You're going to see Preston Konechny play some receiver. You're going to see some other younger underclassmen getting reps at that receiver spot. So having one of those guys step up for a big play every now and then or a nice third down catch is going to be huge. So now we're going to go to our pick-to-click player of the night for Sioux Falls O'Gorman. Pick one player each on the offensive and defensive side of the ball if you want to do that, Dan, to have a big game tonight for the O'Gorman Knights. So, Dan, I'll let you start with your pick-to-click player or players.
My player goes both ways, and that's you're going to recognize this number. Number 26, the 6'3 senior is my pick, and he starts as free safety and also as a wide receiver, so he's going to be in the backfield, downfield a lot tonight, and I think he's going to come up with some big plays. You got to remember, look, he's a little taller than you are.
Yeah.
So
and a little more athletic than I am.
I was 26, Manny Struck.
My pick-to-click player of the game tonight is going to be David Alpers. I think that David's going to be looking for some revenge. And remember, he was a Roosevelt football player back his sophomore year and played a lot for them. Then last year, his first game back, on the O'Gorman Knights playing against the Rough Riders. Got a nice taste of foot in the mouth, basically, just getting punched last year. This year, I think he's going to be out there. He's going to be playing hard. He's an SDSU football commit. He's going to lead the Knights tonight. I think offensively and defensively, he's going to catch a couple balls over the middle, but defensively, I expect him to be all over the field in the backfield tonight.
And he's a heck of an athlete. Oh, man, I love watching him play.
Some players to watch for Roosevelt, on the other hand. Running back Tyree Nave was their second leading rusher last year, averaging just under 9 yards per rush. He had 5 touchdowns. And then linebacker-receiver duo Matt Gehring was second on the Roosevelt Rough Riders team last year with 41 tackles in that linebacker position. And he had 3 sacks and a pick 6 versus O'Gorman last year. He is also playing some receiver this year on the offensive end, so he's going to be a player to watch for tonight.
And also Nelson Wright for Roosevelt. He's the fastest guy in the team for the Rough Riders. I look for him they're going to go deep to him because he's very fast, and hopefully nobody gets burned, but watch out for him, number 41 for the Rough Riders.
All right, so now we're going to take our next break. We'll be back after the break, and we'll do our little bit of a kickoff open and then start announcing some things and festivities going on down on the field. And that will be up after the break here on Real Presence Radio Network.
Pre-planning a funeral is a wonderful gift for families, comfortable when they decide what their wishes are for funeral services. I will listen to all needs and offer choices for funeral arrangements and make sure all questions are answered. Barnett Lewis Funeral Home can be contacted at 336-0707 or by going to barnettlewis.com.
I'm Bishop Donald DeGrood. I'd like to invite you to the Through God's Love Conference on Saturday, October 30th at the Sioux Falls Convention Center. Over the last few months, we've been spreading the word about the diocesan vision, lifelong Catholic missionary discipleship through God's love. Now I'd like to invite you to participate in this conference, where we will help you respond to God's call and in turn help others know and love Him themselves. Visit sfcatholic.org and join me in the renewal the Holy Spirit is working in our diocese.
On the Real Presence Radio Network, O'Gorman Knights Football is on the air. Brought to you by
Catholic Family Services, Catholic Community Foundation of Eastern South Dakota, Jardine Construction, Barnett Vision Clinic, Bishop O'Gorman Catholic Schools, McGuire Iron, Sioux Equipment Company, Ferendorf Family Chiropractic and Crossroads Book and Music, Pizza Ranch and Fun Zone Arcade on 41st Street.
Kickoff to tonight's game is just moments away. With all the exciting action of O'Gorman Knights football, let's go to the field.
Welcome back to McEnany Field here at O'Gorman High School in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the host of the 43rd annual Bob Burns Dakota Bowl between the Sioux Falls Roosevelt Rough Riders and the O'Gorman Knights. So we're getting some pregame festivities going on down on the field, hoping that the weather stays away. Some dark clouds off in the distance. Looks like rain over there. We will play through rain. We will not play through lightning.
And then the 41st meeting between the two teams, O'Gorman leads the series 28-12. Roosevelt is 8-4 in the last 12 meetings, despite O'Gorman winning 3 of the 4 last meetings. O'Gorman is 3-1 in the playoffs versus Roosevelt since 2010. The last time these two teams met, Dakota Bowl, was last year right here at the MAC. The Raiders, Rough Riders, won 48-0 here. They led 27 after first quarter, and they never looked back. Ashley had 5 touchdown passes, 1 touchdown run in the game. O'Gorman had season low 121 total yards in the game and 4 turnovers. Popinga is 3-3 versus Roosevelt as O'Gorman coach. Kim Nelson is 10-5 versus O'Gorman as Roosevelt coach, and 1-3 in playoff games.
So now we're starting to announce some things down on the field. The Bob Burns Dakota Bowl right now, we've got Carol Nesbitt back in the building tonight, announcing
from
some
Colorado.
things. Yeah, all the way back from Colorado, announcing some of the business going on down on the field. We were supposed to have a couple of, I don't know if they're going to do that. It doesn't look like it, but we usually have some people what do you call it? Sailing down, parasailing?
Jump out of the plane. Why would you do that?
No. Anyway, and then there's a little bit of a cheerleader thing. You got a bunch of younger young ladies, probably ages, what is it, K through 5, I want to say, K through 6, down there for a little cheer kids camp. And then there's a football kids. The winners of that are standing out at the 50-yard line right now. They'll be getting a prize for their camp winner, and then there's going to have a couple of raffle winners, a skills challenge thing, and then some more stuff going on. But anyway, that is to be determined here with the weather on hand.
So as you're watching on the live stream, we got to give a shout out to Gary Goldade, who's running the camera on top of the crow's nest tonight. And I'm not sure if Gary can hear us. You can look at the clouds. Looks like maybe a little bit of rain to the south of Sioux Falls, maybe down by Lenox, Beersford area, somewhere in there. Looks like it's coming down a little bit. And so I'm not sure if we're going to get this thing in or not, but we'll maybe do. I'm sure. Oh, when she gets to be 4 or 5, I'm going to have her out here. That's a highlight of their. Look at them kids just waving.
Yep, there is. If you're seeing us on the live stream, depending on what the camera's following up top, there is at least a little coordinated dance that they had planned today. So around the stadium tonight, they've added some new seating down in the end zone, and then as well as the band sitting down. We've got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect in the area, so we'll see what that means for this ball game. As long as the Lightning is more than 10 miles away, it happens. And then 26 minutes later, another strike happens within. It starts over back to 30 minutes. It's not just the 30 minutes from the start. So, yeah. Oh, and yes, you can see it on the live stream. We got some young.
God bless them little girls. Look at that. They're just
having the time of their lives down
I'm
there.
sure they had fun at camp today and everything. They all got T-shirts and everything and stuff. They're going to be talking about this for a few days in school.
So O'Gorman will come out tonight wearing the blue jerseys with the new white helmets with the blue face masks. So they updated the face masks for the O'Gorman Knights. They got blue face masks now. They also have a new stripe down the back as well as a new script on the side that says Knights instead of that old logo of the actual Knight on the side. They updated it to just say Knights in a little bit of a cursive script. And then the Riders wearing their classic all-white with the red-maroon helmets on the top. We're set for a fantastic ball game tonight. Little girls are going crazy right now on the field. However, that massive cloud moving in is starting to make me a little bit nervous for tonight's ball game. Cheerleaders now need to be picked up down on the field.
Oh, yeah.
And we'll move on to that skills challenge announcement coming up here within the next minute.
There's the future of our football team right there, Isaac, standing on the 50. I don't know if Gary got them or not, but them young men won the football challenge this morning at camp.
So I have a big feeling that we're going to get dumped on here pretty soon.
That's what I'd say. It's coming around it to the south. If it comes up from the southeast, yeah, we're going to be. But
so now they're talking about the skills.
Look at that. There's Brad Coleman out there. And Gary's. There's a young man from St. Mary's one. He gets a little football. I believe so. The Gorman team has left the field. Roosevelt's still out there.
One that makes the call for all the weather delays at practices. For example, last week we had a weather delay. She was sitting in the training room watching the radar on her phone, making sure it wasn't within a 10-mile radius and so on.
Yeah, they're hurrying this up here, folks. So we apologize, but we're going to try to make some quick work of this. And everything, the game will be delayed. The kickoff will be at 9 p.m. So we got 2 hours and 10 minutes to kickoff. So I'm sure we'll be going back to programming here in a little bit, and we'll be back on probably about 1:45, something like that. Stay with us.
Listen to the RPR network when you're on the go so you can stay connected to your local community from wherever you are. Plus, if you miss a program, the Real Presence Radio app is your one-stop shop for local and national podcasts, including our signature show, Real Presence Live. The Real Presence Radio app, with you every step of your faith journey.
Hi, Father Sampson. What are you doing? Hey, Mrs. Colbeck. I've just been spending hours enjoying our new swing set at Christ the King Playground. It's so much fun.
That's right, the new swing set.
With our classroom sizes averaging 15 to 20 students, everyone's going to get
at Christ the King. It's going to be a great...
I'm Father Paul. This is Mark Konzemius, president of the Catholic. We live in great hope and the reality of God's broadcast.
Look at the rain
Bishop
coming.
Donald, that is, for each and every Catholic in eastern South Dakota to /vision and discover the exciting...
Joined by Sioux Falls O'Gorman football coach Jason Poppinga. Takeaways from those practices and any surprises to you at all out there?
The biggest... I don't want to say surprise, but our seniors have just done a great job, and we've added Bennett Dannenbrink, who's going to be our starting quarterback, and which has allowed some other players to go play other positions. Rush Landry, we expect to have a huge impact on the defensive line, and also playing wide receiver for us. In camp, he's really come on, and we really feel like he's going to make a big impact on especially short yardage type situations as a receiver. And David Alpers was a great defensive end, all-state defensive end, and we're excited about him coming over on offense. And playing a lot of tight end for us. So, we're excited about, how physical some of our players are, but, we still have a lot of question marks, our offensive line being the biggest question mark. And then in our secondary, too, Andrew Nelson coming back, but, the corner outside of him, how well are we going to be able to cover guys? And last year in the Dakota Bowl, we saw we couldn't cover. We let Tyler Feldkamp run wild on the field and, score 3 or 4 touchdowns early in that game and let it get out of hand. So, we're going to have to play good defense.
And, Coach, how do you feel so far? And maybe it's a hard question to answer at this point in the season, but the depth of your team this year, how do you feel going into the season?
Yeah, that's always a tough one to answer because, we're still trying to feel out our starters. We're trying to find out, how well they're going to perform, as far as, number of reps, how hot it's going to be. But we think, that out of our sophomore class, the one thing I think we've learned is that we think that there's 5 or 6 of our sophomores this year that are going to play big roles for us, on the field, in special teams and also, some defense and offense. We've seen Henry Theobald has really come on, hopefully going to be playing some defensive corner, defensive back for us, and Maverick Jones and then Ryland Satter. Those guys have all stood out, and also Sam Sorrell, hoping that those guys will be big impact players. And, having 4 or 5 sophomores that can play is going to make a huge difference for us down the road.
And, Coach, you mentioned him early in the interview. You do have a new quarterback this year in Bennett Dannenbrink, replacing Tegan Schlimgen, who was your quarterback the past 2.5 years. What does Bennett bring to the table for your offense? And just talk about some of the expectations you have for that offensive unit this season.
Yeah, first, obviously, losing Tegan. He's kind of been our, leader on the team for the last few years. Obviously, winning the state championship his junior year, and he holds almost all of the records now as a quarterback, total yards, touchdowns, etc. They're all held by Tegan, which is, an impressive feat, seeing that he, beat out like Isaac Struck and Dusty Coleman and some of those, great names that we've had come through the program. Bennett's a very different type of quarterback than what we've had. He's tall, he's 6'2", 6'3", he runs really well. He's one of the fastest guys on our team and throws a really good ball. And, he's a kid that's came up through, the Sioux Falls leagues playing quarterback. A lot of times we've had guys that, necessarily might have been receivers that we had playing quarterback, but, Bennett's a true quarterback and really excited about what he's going to bring to the table.